Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. I'm Bob DeMarco. Boy, I just saw that picture of me up on. I couldn't look more thrilled to be here on that still picture, but believe me, I actually am. It's Thursday night, the beginning of the weekend. I get to hang out with you guys, and I'm super excited about it. Coming up, I'm going to be giving away a Trivisa Mensae. I hope that's the right way to say that, because if you mess that one up, it sounds. I'll just move on from there. Artisan Cutlery Revel. I'm very excited to show that off. I really like this knife, sent to me by Artisan Cutlery. Sweet budget knife by Ray Laconico. And then has the Supersteel Craze Peaked. I don't know if I'm consuming less knife content, but I feel like the conversation has shifted away from super steels. And I don't know if MagnaCut burned out the whole conversation and just sort of settled it. Oh, it's settled. This is the best steel ever. I'm not sure, but maybe some of you guys know, and you can fill me in. Marco, nice to have you here, sir. Evening, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. He says, good evening to you, Marco. Hope you're doing well, man. Trent Costello, how you doing, Trent? I'm actually still a big fan of Topps 1095 and Spartan S35 VN. I got to say, I've used a lot of Topps 1095. I have a bit of Spartan S35 VN, but really my experience with the Topps, there's a lot more, and I love it. I love 1095. I love 154 CM. That's a great steel. But, super steel. Carino 1, nice to have you here, sir. Good evening, Jim, Bob, and fellow junkies. Super steel marketing will never peak. Got to keep the chase going. Yeah. But are we in a fallow period right now? Are we on pause while we consider other things like heat treatment and geometry? Terzwola mug. Love this thing. James, how's it going, sir? We have James Hart with us. He says, I have 10 blades in my collection that are made from 5160 high carbon spring steel, and they take and hold a very good edge. Yes, 5160. Is that the ball bearing steel, or is that 52-100? I don't know, but I know that both of those steels, not considered super steel, but if you're making ball bearings that go up in the space shuttle out of that steel, can we just call that a super steel? That's pretty super. James says, if you look back in the history of knives, back in the 80s, 425M for modified was considered a super steel. Part of the 400 series of steel. I've never heard of 425, let alone M. Sordex XXY, good to have you here, sir. Good day, Bob, Jim, and junkies. New and better materials will always come up for knives until lightsaber type tools develop. Yeah, there was a really cool, I'm not even going to go there. There was a great sci-fi show where everyone carried knives, and they were kind of like little lightsabers, but the lightsaber part went around the edge of the blade. It was kind of cool. Anyway, James Hart says, and even then, the lightsaber will be customizable for power, life, beam size, and I would say color too. Though I think in Star Wars, and I'm not a huge fan, though I love the first two, Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. Bad guys have the warm colored lightsabers, and the good guys have the cool, like the blue and the green. Is that right? Ground Fog, nice to have you here, sir. We have Ground Fog with us saying hello. Hello to you, sir. Craig Vincent, nice to have you here, Craig. Evening, Bob, Jim, and junkies. I don't necessarily think it peaked, but it might have plateaued like me. Yeah, that's a good way to, I have not peaked. I have plateaued. Yes, right here about 54. That's where the plateau happens until boom, upward and onward, as I get wise. Matt Lamana, nice to have you here, Matt. Happy Thursday Night Knives, Bob, Jimmy Notes, and Junkies. I'll have you know, Matt, I've been calling Jim Jimmy Notes now and again. It feels good. It's coming off the tongue. It's like we're in a jazz band or something. I'm like, hey, Jimmy Notes. In my opinion, the super steel quest will continue, but consumer obsession will ebb and flow depending on the economy and marketing fatigue. No doubt about that. I love seeing it, but I'm over it. Yeah, I mean, I've been over it. Though I must say, I am one of those people who, if I'm paying a certain amount of money, I want a certain steel on the whole. James Hart says, after all, steel starts with iron, which then has carbon added, and now other things. Yeah. Hence the great high carbon steels. Scott says, Hi, all. Well, Scott, good to have you here, sir. Pardon me. If you can't maintain it in the field, it's better off in the queen's drawer, which is a nice place for super duper steals. Yes, super duper steals who need a lot of, you know, maintenance, not maintenance, but a lot of fluffing. Oh, you're such a good steal. You're like the best steal in my collection. Sean Clark, nice to have you here, Sean, and your beautiful gato. Good evening, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Hopefully, they keep coming up with exciting new steals. Also, I grabbed a zombie 001. How cool! And the new drop 001 used your code, saved me $55. Thanks. And thank you, Sean. What is he talking about? Well, if you order a TKL knife and through knifejunkie.com/TKL, and at checkout you use Knife Junkie, all lowercase, all one word, you save 10% on your purchase. So Sean just bought two Agent 001s, the zombie edition, and then the new second drop edition, and saved 55 shekels. Nicely done, sir. And thank you for thanks for getting that knife. The more hands it's in, the safer we all are, especially in times like these. Terminator Joe, nice to have you here, Terminator. Evening, fellow junkies and infidels. Speaking of times like these, yes, indeed, a proud infidel sitting before you. Ira Hayes, nice to have you here, Ira. Good evening. I love you all. #knife, says Ira. And why is he saying #knife? Because we're giving away this Trivisa Mensae. Thanks to, put this under the knife cam. Thanks to Dave of OG Blade Reviews. He gave us this absolute beauty to be given away. Trivisa is a really good brand. I've had 3 knives from them, and I really like them. And this one is super cool with that. Is it a cleaver or is it a straight razor? Type blade. And then this beautiful G10 handle, really, really nice. That's 14C28. Oh no, 154 cm. Ooh la la, 154 cm. Sorry about the French, guys. And so #knife in the comments could win you this. And even if you don't like the knife, sign up for it. I'll send it to you at no cost to you, and you can give it away to a friend and look like a hero. Angry Tom's hat next door. Nice to have you here, Angry Tom. I love Thursday Night Knives. Hello, Bob, Jim, and all the junkies. Thanks for the kind words, Angry Tom. I really appreciate it. Don't sound so angry right now. It's Thursday. But I really appreciate it. Ben Odie, nice to have you here, Ben. Good evening, all. Bob and Jim. Here's to you, sir. Ben is the guy responsible for these mugs. So they are super awesome at terzuoladesign.com. Fred Ferbemeyer, nice to have you here, Fred. Hello, Bob. Good to see you again. Well, it's good to see you, or your name at least, again, Fred. But I feel like I've gotten to know a lot of you, and it's nice to have you here, sir. An American father, another member. So you see this little symbol right here. This means that they're a member, a gentleman junkie, through YouTube, as opposed to Patreon. So either way you do it, I appreciate it. It also gets you in the running for a special knife giveaway on the 3rd Thursday of every month. An American father says, another 7 days survived. Thank God. Glad to be here with all of you junkies. Good to be here with Bob and Jim. Super steals are for suckers. I'm not going to go that far because I have a bunch of super steals. Not that I'm not a sucker sometimes. But if that's, I could understand how one would feel like if that's your one criteria for knife buying, you might be suckered into the marketing. I'm not so much a materials guy as I am I guess I'm more of a looks guy and performance, high performance. Zachary Schmidt, nice to have you here, Zachary. I'm so sorry, guys, for all of this. I start talking, after being silent for a while, I start talking and I'm sucking in a bunch of air. It makes me belch, I guess. Anyway, good. TMI. Good evening, Bob and fellow junkies, says Zachary. Zach, I'm sorry I interrupted that message with my bloviating. Scott says, hey, Joe, proud infidel here. Yeah, you can tell by the helmet and the sword. Lone Star Dowboy, nice to have you here, Lone Star. I only have to get up at 6 in the morning now. Oh, that's awesome. No time change in Turkey. How cool. Yeah, I've always wondered, like, they always say they're gonna get rid of daylight savings here, and they just don't. Ooh, one of my favorite cheeses, Mars Capone, and what a what a cute dog. That's such a cute picture. Uh, last knives I bought were an AEBL S7 RMJ Tomahawk and some 3V things. I like 3V a lot. I've used that a lot outside. AEBL, I have a bunch of. S7, never heard of, but it sounds like a super high impact carbon steel on a Tomahawk, or maybe not. Yeah, I guess it would be high carbon steel. S7. I need an RMJ in my life, like a Shrike or something like that. Hero Sticks, nice to have you here, Hero. Also a member through YouTube. Happy Thursday Night Knives evening, and cheers, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Cheers to you, sir. Hope you're doing well. Mars Capone says, geometry is sometimes way more important than the steel, depending on the use. Yep, especially, I mean, you know, the heat treatment is a big part of it too, especially if you plan on using your knives for any sort of extended period of time, which I generally don't, except when I'm batoning wood. But lately, I've been using a splitting maul because our neighbors cut down a tree. I have a bunch of logs in my yard. It's been fun. I feel like Conan the Barbarian, or not Conan, John Matrix in the beginning of Commando. Anyway, this adder bites. Nice to have you here, this adder. He says, have decided to keep the folders after a purge. Yonder, Lander 2, Moondust, and Large and Cosi Singo with black inlays to keep 3 folders. Wow. Wow, that is a purge and a half, man. Okay, so the Lander, the Yonder and the Lander, those are both NAFs, right? And the Large and Cosi in Singo. I mean, that's one for the record books. That's a beautiful knife. But the Yonder and the other one, those are NAFs, right? Well, congratulations on the purge and the discipline it takes to do such a purge. Jammin Parker says, evening, everyone. I think the Supersteel Craze is a bit overrated. I agree with you, Jammin. I prefer a simple stainless composition like AEBL, much easier to sharpen in the field. I do like Magna Cut, though. Yep. AEBL, my experience sharpening it is very easy, though I've never done it actually in the field, and I too like Magna Cut. I got to ask you guys a question about Whatnot in a few minutes. I have a friend, I'm not sure if he's on right now, but he's gone hog wild on Whatnot and has become a full-fledged knife junkie, and Whatnot has been his gateway drug. And I'm curious, if I have knives to sell, should I do it there? Let me know. Zachary Schmidt says, in my personal opinion, you see a knife and you like it, like in a good price right now, you might want to snag it because there's a lot of turmoil going on right now overseas and alike. Yeah, it's not just overseas. But no, I hear what you're saying. There's a lot of yeah. I agree. If you've got the ducats and you see something you like, especially if it's foreign made, you should probably snag it. I take it from a guy who's delayed on so many knives that I wish would come back into circulation. James Hart says 5160 spring steel is the stuff used in leaf springs of vehicles. Buck used the 425M until 1992. Then they switched to 420HC. Okay, a 420M, 425M. I'm going to have to read up on that. 5160. So then the 52100 is the ball bearing steel, right? An American father says, if you have a knife or tool that you're using all day long at the same job, maybe steel matters. Otherwise, early buck knives are still going strong in the wilderness today. Yeah. Here's a early-ish buck knife, 74 to 80. Not sure when exactly, but this thing is still, well, I sharpened it up, but still working great. And this sits on my desk and I use it for a lot. This was a friend of mine whose father passed away. This was one of his knives, and I'm honored to have gotten it. Cooper Clark, nice to have you here, Cooper. Evening, steel matters because it supports the geometry and makes wear resistance. Edge retention is a ton of heat treat. Yeah, I guess steel does matter. Of course it matters. I think the question for me, Cooper, is does it really matter a lot for me, given my propensity to just kind of collect knives and use them whenever the opportunity arises. But in my lifestyle, I don't really need them that much, oddly enough. Scott Winters, nice to have you here, Scott. The chase for the top continues as soon Magnamax is soon to be released. Yeah, I've heard tell. Actually, I have to invite Laren Thomas back onto the show to talk about this. I like Laren. He's a cool guy, and he talks about knife steels to me or car steels. His day job is inventing new steels for the automotive industry. His hobby is inventing new knife steels, which is insane. But I like talking with him. Makes me feel like, well, an idiot a little bit. At least it makes me feel like I'm back in science class in like sophomore year of high school. Huh? Five Door, nice to have you here, Five Door. Greetings, Bob, Jimmy Notes, and Junkies. Knife steel has advanced at a crazy rate. It's probably time to cool off anyway. Yeah, I mean, really, we're gonna paint ourselves in a corner with a steel that we can't even sharpen. Lone Star says drama is a necessary creation to drive sales. If you know what your needs are, the choice of steel is easy. For me, it's toughness. So, Lone Star, do you do a lot of outdoorsy kind of stuff? That's what I always think of when I think of tough steels. Steels that you can, baton through wood or chop with, or do those kind of things. Bounce back kind of stuff. Jeremy Giroux, nice to have you here, Jeremy. He says it's probably due to the failure of the steel companies more so than peaking. Less are available, therefore companies are switching materials. Very interesting observation. I think people are liking the tougher stuff for slicey. This is a very good point. Less availability, and yeah, you're right. Companies, Cold Steel did this a while ago when they couldn't source as much CTS XHP. They moved to S35VN. And I imagine that will change here sometime soon also. Cooper Clark says, we are definitely past the point of diminishing returns with super steels. Most people cannot tell the difference in use. Hear, hear. Present company included. Brando's Blades. Nice to have you here, Brando. Knife Junkie, evening, sir. Good evening to you, man. I hope you're doing outstandingly well. Thomas Wheeler, I'm feeling threatened by your abstract avatar. Evening all, he says. Good evening to you. That is a really cool picture, by the way. Cat Scratch, nice to have you here, Cat Scratch. Hello, everybody. Hello, Cat Scratch. Speaking of Cat Scratch, my cat was just begging for my attention. I pet her for a little while. When I moved away, she swats and kind of like gets her claws in me and tries to pull me back. Brown Sugar 0069. How you doing, Brown Sugar? Hope you're doing well. Hello, Knife Junkie. Hello to you. Hope you're doing awesome. Terminator Joe says the Supersteel craze will go on, but regardless of that, it's all about the heat treatment. It can't be vibranium or automantium like adamantium. It'll all shatter if heat treat is not on par. Vibranium. What is that? Automantium. That reminds me of the Wolverine claws. Fred Ferbermeyer says, but I think what you're saying is it's all about the heat treat, and you if it's obviously if it's too hard, A, you can't sharpen it, and B, it's like diamond. Diamond is the hardest substance on earth, but it's pretty damn brittle because of that. Fred Ferbermeyer says my S90V button lock fell out of my SV90 button lock fell out of my pocket and hit the ceramic tile bathroom floor. That sucks. Somehow it opened before hitting and the tip peaked right off. S90V. I did that with my 20 CV Yojimbo. I had to have it reprofiled from Jared Neve back in the day when you could send him knives to reprofile. Maybe you still can. I don't know, but I'm sure his waiting list is super long at this point. Jeremy says, do you think more people are valuing the tough stainless steels that are thinner blade stock and slice better? I do. I know I do. I love, and that's because I'm not a hard user. I like my big chunky blades. I do. But like, for instance, the new Artisan I'm going to show you, or the new Buck range has a nice thin blade stock and a tall grind, and it just, man, it slices all day long. It's so nice and thin. So yeah, I think a lot of people, that's been a trend, the slicey trend. It's been around. Jeremy says, or due to steel mills failing and the super steel is hard to manufacture. Yeah, that could be it also. And how cool is it that some of us are, I'm sure many of us are sitting on a veritable gold mine of super steel. If they go away due to market pressures or what have you, we will have, come to me for my S90V. I love this. This knife is so sweet. I just did an up close of this Pyrotech Tsunami S90V. Again, S90V rears its head. Adrian Fighter 35, good evening to you and your better half, sir. Hope you're doing well. Good evening, Bob, Jim, and fellow junkies. Hope everyone is doing great tonight. Wish I knew enough about super steels to have an opinion on it peaking. I am happy with steels like AUS 10A and S35VN. Yeah, AUS 10A is awesome, the way Cold Steel does it. But I don't know much about super steels. I'm just saying, from paying attention to or watching a lot of knife videos, and I don't watch that many knife videos these days. And that's why I'm asking you, like, because maybe it's just because I'm not paying as much attention, but I don't know. Karen Slavin, nice to have you here, Karen. Good evening, fellow junkies. Happy to be back for another Thursday Night Knives. Well, Karen, we're happy to have you here, and you've got something on your way to you. Well, hopefully you get it soon. Jammin Parker says, I do understand some people, and that was for Karen's birthday, by the way. Jammin says, I do understand some people wanting high-end CPM wear-resistant steels for their high-end folders. Being a fixed blade guy, I prioritize toughness and corrosion resistance, not so much edge retention. Yeah, Jammin, I feel like I fall into that camp. Because of all of the big fixed blades I have, I really use the ones that are appropriate for outdoor messing around. Like, I got a bunch of stainless fixed blades like this, but I don't care about toughness. I just care about this being sharp if, heaven forbid, I ever need it. Taipan, sweet knife. Stephen Roberts, how you doing, Steve? Good to have you here. What's up, Bob, Jim, and all? Doing well. Hope you're doing well, and hope you're smoking right now with your Knife Junkie Zippo. And if you're not smoking, you better start up. You better start the habit. I've been thinking about starting smoking, Johnny, and this clinches it. Robert Jones, nice to have you here, Robert. I like your Groucho Marx emoji, and peace. Good peace to you, sir. Jerry C, nice to have you here, Jerry. Hi, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Got my knife. Thank you so much, sir. You're very welcome. And thanks to Dave of OG Blade Reviews, who I don't think is with us tonight. And I put the very cool Knife Junkie sticker on my gun safe. Hell yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. I generally tend to send 2 stickers. Hopefully I sent you 2. Maybe I didn't. Or maybe I'm running low and I didn't. But yeah, so you can stick one on your gun sticker, and then, or on your gun cabinet or whatever, and then, or your knife cabinet, and then ponder where you should put the other one. Public place. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying I would endorse such illegal activities. I'm just saying. Zachary says, I do have an interesting question. Have we been in a knife golden age, if you will, for a good while, and is it possibly coming to an end? That's an honest question. Zach, Zach, if I may, that is a great question, and we've broached that here before. Every now and again, have we reached peak knife? And I do believe we're in a golden age. I also believe that the market is totally saturated. That's not to say that there aren't buyers for all these knives, but man, so many knives just keep coming out, and companies keep popping up, sprouting up out of nowhere, and the bar is so high. And people are making, these companies are making such good knives I don't know. Something's got to give at some point. Robert Strebin, nice to have you here, Robert. Good Thursday night, evening, Bob, Jim, and all you junkies out there. Well, good Thursday night, evening to you, man. Hope you're doing well. Dion Page, nice to have you here, Dion. Hello, King Junkie, Jim, and all you junkies. Actually, it says Jin. Don't mind if I do. Sorry about that. An American Father says, I'll agree with super steels are for collectors. Yeah, kind of. It's like, well, my Bugatti has a carbon fiber hood. It's like, yeah, that's a great material and it's a like awesome car, but does it matter? Isn't it still going to go 225 miles an hour with a steel hood? Karen says, doesn't it come down to what makes the best edge? #knife. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and can you sharpen it? I mean, that's a big one for me. Like, that's one of the reasons I love there he is. That's one of the reasons why I love 154 CM and 1095. I know that I'm really good at sharpening those steels, or I have the patience to sharpen those steels, we can say. OG Blade Reviews, good to have you here, Dave. He says, evening, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. I do believe that 1095 and D2 are making a return along with other older steels. And by the way, I love D2, and I remember when D2 was a super steel. That's when I got my Les George ProTech Rockeye automatic. At that point, D2 was a super steel. Speaking of Dave, this is the knife he has given us to give away tonight. The Trivisa Mensae. Really, really cool knife with the sort of straight razory look that I love so much. I also like these triple holes. I can on my right side use them to middle finger flick. And let's see, can we slow roll? Yeah, you can use them to slow roll it open if you're in the commissary at work and you don't want to scare anyone, freak anyone out. Look at this beautiful handle material. It's G10 and it's just got these gorgeous waves in it. 154 cm, loop over deep carry pocket clip. Just a super cool knife, great action. All you got to do is #knife in the chat, in the comments, and I will send this to you at no cost to you. It's really sharp too, man. It comes to a very fine edge. And yeah, just #knife in the comments. And in about a half hour, probably a little more than that, we will give that sucker away to one of you lucky people. Who's next? And as that is queued up, an American Father says, I'm talking smack about myself as well. I love 3V. Yeah, I mean, right. 3V, unnecessary, but awesome. If you have the means, I highly recommend it. Yeah, it is a great steel. And I know that from pounding a couple of, two different 3V blades through, ratty, unseasoned, nasty wood that I got. And this is not grocery store wood. I love the grocery store wood. This is a gardening center. I got a quarter cord of wood like 2 years ago, and I just can't. It just does not. It's shitty wood. But anyway, 3V goes through it better than anything else, it seems. Terminator Joe says super steel is just another way to overprice a knife with steel they probably have mountains of. Yeah, well, I mean, I agree in the with the first part. It is a great way to overprice a knife. I don't know if they have mountains of it though. Split and Slices, nice to have you here, Byron. Howdy, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Thursday night knives. I find both the Supersteel Craze and the knife sharpening craze amazingly ironic. The same guys that need these expensive super steels also need fancy sharpeners. That's funny. Yeah, that's good, Byron. Let me show you this, guys, real quick. This is a custom Dirk Pinkerton chef's knife that he made and showed to me, and my search was done. I've been searching for a custom chef's knife on and off for my sister to give to a friend of hers. She sort of gave me that assignment, and I've seen a lot of cool knives, a lot of cool chef's knives, and then Dirk sent me a picture of this, and I sent it to my sister, and I explained who Dirk is and how awesome his knives are, and she said, let's do it. And so this is in my hands temporarily before I send it along to my sister, who's going to give it to her close friend, who has cooked many a meal for her over the years. And he and his wife are great chefs. So this will be a cool addition to his collection of knives. It is beautiful. It's nice and thin. I used it tonight to cut up a potato. Check this out. When my daughter was trick-or-treating, some couple gave her a potato and a fight fascism sticker. And I was like, man, they must be real fun at parties. So yeah, potato and fight fascism sticker. I used this, and we all know what they mean by that, fight fascism sticker. And I used this to cut up that potato. I'll be damned if I will let this potato die of irony. And I made a delicious fried potato to supplement our meal tonight. And I cut it up with this, and this is a great knife. I love it. I'm going to have to get one myself. I have 2 Steve Kalari custom knives that I use, three of them. We have 3, 2 chef's knives and a paring knife. I love them. I love them to death, but I think I need another custom chef's knife, and I think I know who I'm going to get my next one from, and it's going to be Dirk. Gary Balmain, nice to have you here, Gary. Hello, fellow Knife Junkie family. As a 75-plus-year-old re-entry into the knife collector family, steel type is just one part of the knife makeup that makes this such an interesting hobby. #knife. That is that's interesting. That's a great perspective. And from your picture, I wouldn't guess you're 75 plus, but again, like these days, 75 is kind of the new 55. And we can kind of say that about all ages. We could say that 54 is the new, 31, 29 maybe. But anyway, yeah, it is another aspect, especially if you were gone from knife collecting for a while and you come back in, and it seems like things have really blossomed and bloomed, like was just mentioned. We are in kind of a golden age of knives, and to see how steel has evolved and how knife collectors have evolved, and just knife users in general, and people who spend money on knives. The steel aspect's got to be interesting, as are the other materials, the prevalence of titanium now and that kind of thing. Timothy Chadwick, nice to have you here, Timothy. Thursday night knives, how sweet it is. I love it. I love it. Yes, I agree. It's so much fun. I love it. I love doing the interviews. I love doing the midweek supplemental, but this is the best. I get to talk directly with you. That blazer scene in Commando, favorite. Oh, yes, Brando. You're talking about right up front. I love that movie, Commando. It has not been on in a long time. I love the soundtrack with the the steel drums. That's a cool movie, cool soundtrack. That and Predator. I mean, formative, and Rambo. The Rambo movies to a lesser extent. I've gotten more into Rambo as I've gotten older. Back in the day, I loved First Blood Part 2, and 3. But now I like Rambo a lot too. Anyway, yeah. But the real knife movies, to me, Commando and Predator. Jeremy S., nice to have you here, Jeremy. I like your fighting skeleton. It reminds me of those old Harryhausen, Jason and the Argonaut movie, and those other movies. Anyway, I have noticed so many knives are made with Supersteel now, which isn't a bad thing if properly heat treated for the specific type of steel, like you said. But most people don't need it, of course. Yeah, need and want. That's what we were talking about last week. What do we need? What do we want? We want Supersteel because we want to feel like our money is going to the, to the best. Well, we want to know that our money is being spent on the very best materials and build and engineering possible. It's like when I got the Bad Monkey from Southern Grind. I loved everything about it, except it was a $250 knife with carbon fiber, basket weave carbon fiber, and 14C28 end blade. And I couldn't wrap my mind around that. I ended up selling it. I really wanted something higher quality in terms of steel, even though I love 14C28N. But for $250, I wanted more. That was an emotional decision, 100%. But then again, buying the knife was emotional because I thought it looked cool, and it does, and it still does. And I kind of wish I had it. Anyway, Jacob Vargas, nice to have you here, Jacob. Good evening, Knife Junkies, Bob and Jim. Good evening to you, man. Hope you're doing well. Five Door says, Bob, if you have knives to sell, you know what I like. I don't have those knives to sell. Five Door has an awesome collection. And maybe I have a couple of knives that approach the awesomeness he has, but those are not the ones that are up for sale. I have a bunch of VVs and good, cool knives. But then today I was just looking at them and I'm like, I can't believe I sold a couple of these. What am I doing? So I don't know. Anyway, Hero Stick says, Bob, loved the titanium folder show this week. Oh, thank you. The American Blade Works version 2, the Ek Integral, and the Gooseworks Mekong Delta Combat folder were my favorites. I love that Gooseworks. It's so cool. I want a Resco watch too. I love watches. Resco does have a new folder on their site, $475. Is that the one with the clip point blade and the finger grooves? If so, that was their very first. I think they only have 2 models, unless this is a 3rd model. Let me know, because I don't want to be antisocial and go navigate there now. But Resco watches are so cool. If I were stinking filthy rich, I'd be a watch collector too. I mean, I kind of am, but I'd be a collector of high-end watches. Jeremy S says S30V was already more than most needed. That's right. And then they made S35VN, and that was to make it a little less chippy, right? A little tougher. And that was Chris Reeve, who I know he had a huge hand in developing, was the originator of S35, not the originator, but he went to the company and had them, make S30 less brittle, I think, or less hard, something like that. And most won't ever be able to tell the difference. Most people don't even use their high-end knives; they just collect them. Well, I would say I'm in that category, though I do carry them, and if a use comes up, I use them, no doubt. But I think I can tell a steel's hardness or greatness or whatever more when I'm trying to sharpen it. And you say, well, why would you have to sharpen it if it's a super steel and you barely use them? Well, because I've done some stupid things with my knives. Ed says, hello, Ed. How you doing, man? Good to have you here with us. I believe we've peaked for the time being with everyone trying to make a version of Magna Cut. Now Magna Tough and whatever other Magnas are in the works. Magna is a pretty cool prefix. Jeremy S says, Magna Bob. Jeremy S says, my Swiss Army knife is still the knife I use more than any of my other knives, and the edge will last a long time if properly sharpened. I love Victorinox knives. And to me, the whole game changer were the little clips, the pocket dangler clips. Dion Page says, I like DLC or a good patina. Everything else is just extra dollar signs to me. I like a good patina. DLC depends. Depends. Again, being a looks guy, sometimes I like the look of it. Just gonna put this away so I don't slice and dice myself. Ed, but I think eventually steel nerds will continue to innovate. Yes, no doubt. Because that's what they do, and they know that we'll lap it up. Terminator Joe says, to me, my steel of choice is 5160 spring steel and S35 VN. When I get that Recon 1 XL, I hope it makes me a believer in the steel type. XHP, I think they're using that on the Recon 1 XHP, and I love it. I love that steel. I got a bunch of cold steel in that steel. And those are knives I use. Jeremy S says, most people will never be able to tell much of a difference between the different steels, but it is cool to have the best. but when they spend $400 or more on a knife, most people are afraid to use it. That is true. And sometimes you end up getting this, or I should say sometimes I end up getting the Supersteel, not because I'm seeking out that steel or any other material, but because I want that knife in particular. And that knife in particular has, say in this case, S90V. This knife is awesome, guys. I love this. I love this knife. Knife Guy Stuff. Good to have you here, Knife Guy Stuff. Is that looks like a Joe Watson in your picture? Very nice. I can't tell any difference usually. I think hardness and geometry are more important. Yeah, that's pretty much where I come down on it as well. Especially geometry, though I'm not a guy who measures the behind the edge thickness and all that stuff. You can just tell when something is nice and slicey. Dave says Laren Thomas has gone on record as saying that edge geometry is more important than the steel or heat treat, or the HRC, so the Rockwell hardness. Yeah, but then you add his awesome steel to that whole recipe, and you've got amazingness. Karen Slavin says, really check into whatnot. Every seller I've seen are licensed auctioneers. Oh, every seller I have seen are licensed auctioneers. So I would have to become a licensed auctioneer maybe to sell on there. All right, I will have to check it out. Like I said, my friend, he goes on there and it's too easy. He's gotten like 50 knives in the last month, which is hilarious. He's the kind of guy who, when he gets into something like whiskey or cigars, and I think he has a couple of other things, he goes in whole hog and he collects them all. Terminator Joe says, are we going to get it? Excuse me. Are we going to get a Supersteel that can cut diamond? I don't know. I think diamond, wouldn't you cut that with like a laser or with ultrasound or something like that? Something a little more futuristic than steel. That would be cool, though. Will B, nice to have you here, Will. Evening, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Hope you're doing well, Will. An American Father says, most collectors would refuse to believe the truth concerning how similar D2 and Magna Cut really are. Are you talking on a performance level, or are you talking on a molecular level? I'm just curious. Jacob Vargas says Dawson heat treats Dawson knives heat treat is superb. Man, you keep mentioning Dawson, and I had them on, and I had one of the gents on from Dawson Knives, and keep meaning to get one, and I have not gotten one yet. Craig Vincent says, Bob, my Zippo came a few days ago. Awesome. And my insert came today. Tomorrow I will introduce them to each other, and together they'll fire up a fine cigar for my birthday. Craig, is your birthday tomorrow? Let me know. Happy birthday, sir. Here's mine. Got the double jets. It's like an F-15 taking off with the afterburners. Anyway, sorry, that was dorky. Jeremy S says, at least with sharpening, some companies like Benchmade will sharpen the knife for you. Yeah, that's cool. That's not an issue. And if the edge lasts, you won't need to sharpen it often. No, and if you strop it and maintain it and don't do anything too stupid with it, you'll be able to maintain it yourself. Knife Guy Stuff says 1095 isn't a tough steel at all. And look at what we can do with that stuff. It's all marketing. What is your, I'm not being confrontational when I say, what is your evidence that 1095 isn't tough? I have found my 1095 to be tough, whereas my S30V, and I'm speaking from just being stupid and throwing them at boards. S30V, I've had snap on my Spyderco Street Bowie, and I've had 1095 go the distance. I'm just curious about your thoughts on 1095. Jeremy S says, I missed the carbon V steel that Cold Steel had back in the day. Yeah, and I can never remember, is it carbon 5 or carbon V? But yeah, I've got a bunch of that, and none of it up here. But my Yeah, I've got a bunch of that. Brando's Blades says 14C28N from Kaiser holds up very well. 14C28N is a nice steel. That's was that originally a scalpel steel? I believe. I think it was a scalpel steel, or it still is. Lone Star Dowboy says for a consumer. Oh, I'm sorry. For a consumerism aspect, variations of steel are pushed as must-haves to be a worthy collector. Yeah. You cannot flex if you do not have the steel du jour to display. But who are we displaying to, and who are we flexing to, and how much does that matter? Maybe it's an age thing, but to me, I just don't care. For me, it's like, what do I like? And then it's also, what do I like? And as I explained earlier, what do I feel is worth the money? But mostly it's, what do I like? I really don't care what any other knife people say. Though, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like it when I show a knife and people are like, "Ooh, that's cool." But you know, if they say, "Oh, it's in 14C20," then I'd say, "Yeah, it is." Steve says, "I'm no expert of blade steels. However, the off-grid knives, Grizzly V2 chef's knife, did a great job scaring the shit out of people on Halloween, dressed as Michael Myers. And yours truly was one of them. But when I saw the Grizzly V2 chef's knife, I knew who it was. Though Steve is a tall guy and looked very imposing with his coveralls and his Michael Myers mask, but he had a far better knife than the original Michael Myers. But yeah, man, that was eerie. Brando's Blades says D2 is what is on metal milling machines. Damn. Oh, that's a tool steel. That's why they call it a tool steel. James Hart says, yes, Carbon V. My cold steel Recon Tanto is made from it. My my SRK and several others are made of that old fixed blade steel. It's awesome. Dion Page says, I did really want the 4-inch Talwar in CTS XHP at one time. I remember this. But that's over and done with. Thanks for the help with that problem a while back, King Junkie. I almost got scammed. Yeah, yep. Yeah. I miss my 4-inch Talwar in OS 8. I miss it. I miss it dearly. No, that's one of those knives I regret getting rid of. But he really almost got scammed. And I'm glad I could help. Sometimes it needs a second pair of eyes. Not that I'm some expert, but sometimes a second pair of eyes to help you make sense of something is the way to go, no matter what it is. Malcolm Holt, nice to have you here, Malcolm. He says, hey, everyone. And I say, hello, right back at you. Happy Thursday Night Knives. Zachary says, pulled out a knife that I had forgotten. I had the off-grid backcountry V2 recommendation a la Bob DeMarco in one of the original Supersteels D2. Oh, very nice. Yeah, I love the V2 of the backcountry. It's so much more comfortable in hand than the original. And it's got a great blade. And if you like that blade shape, the Sidekick is a small version of that with a better handle. In my opinion, a more comfortable handle. But about a 4-inch blade, that is awesome. I do recommend the Sidekick as well. Cat Scratch says, love the steel pursuit of perfection. Have you heard of the new fixed blade steel, the Pops Pro Cut? I think I have. I know of Pops, the knife shop, which I should say is, I think Andy Roy now owns, or Andy Roy of, Fiddleback Forge, and a couple other people bought Pops from the original owner. I think that's how that works. And they've had a number of steels come out. As a matter of fact, I was talking about my Steve Kalari custom chef's knives. 2 of those are in a steel 8170 or something like that. That comes from Pops as well. James Hart says vibranium. Oh, okay. Vibranium is the stuff Captain America's shield is made of. Okay, and adamantium is the stuff that Wolverine's claws and bones are laced with. Dylan Mallory, nice to have you here, sir. Very talented designer in our midst. There's never enough craze. It's always what's popular this week. So Dylan, I'm curious, when you design a knife, are you thinking about steel? Is steel a necessity in your completing the design? Like, this design has to be an S90V. Let me know. Brando's Blades says, Knife Junkie, I was cracking up when you did your Halloween short. I always hear that one going out too. That's funny. And that Halloween short, I didn't intend to upload. It's funny. Sometimes if you know about uploading to YouTube, I had it on public somehow. I always have it on private because I shoot a lot of videos at once and then I upload them and then I schedule them. But somehow I must have pressed public. It went public. There's no metadata or anything there. I'm leaving it up. A lot of people have watched it, but yeah, it was so funny. I was like doing my whole thing and then, come on, it's time to go. I'm like, halfway through my pocket check, baby. Todd Carr, nice to have you here, Todd. Evening, everyone. Good evening to you, sir. I love that beach scene you got there. And we have Eric Flat. Nice to have you here, Eric. Good afternoon, Bob. I'm sorry, Robert, James, and gentlemen. Afternoon. So where are you? Are you in Hawaii, maybe? Or I'm trying to think of where it would be afternoon right now. Cesario Atan, nice to have you here, Cesario. Good evening, Bob, and good folks. I broke down and bought the gin. Oh, good Lord. I'm jealous. I'm not envious. I want you to have it too, but I'm jealous because I want one. Love the blade, love the steel, CPM 3V. May have ostrich skin again or go snakeskin over Kydex. Oh, yes, on your sheath. Yes. Oh, that would be sweet. Hashtag knife. Oh, I love the gin. I love the gin. Here's the Pro Cut. Collaboration design between knife steel nerds Laren Thomas and Pop's Knife Supply. This carbon steel has the perfect balance between toughness and edge retention. It's extremely forgiving to heat treat with exceptional hardness and ultra fine grain structure. It's also an alternative for 15 and 20 in making high performance Damascus. Oh, that's cool. This steel has great stability in quench and is easy to work with and grind, even at higher hardnesses. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Jim, for bringing that up. That's sweet. We always hear about, like, this knife, for instance, is 15 N20 and 1095 blade steel. But lo and behold, you could use that Pops Pro Cut and make Damascus like that. Now, I can't remember if it's the 1095 that gets dark. I think it is the 1095 that gets dark. But yeah, how cool. It's an alternative to a steel we all kind of know and love. Karen says, I received it on Tuesday. Thank you again. Oh, my pleasure. Please check your email. I sent one after I got it. All right, I will. You're not the first person to tell me to check my email. I've had a heck of a week. Today would have been a perfect day to do that, and I failed to do that. So thank you so much, Karen. I'm glad you got it, and happy birthday. Fred the Lug, nice to have you here, Fred. Hello, all, he says. Well, hello to you, man. Hope you're doing well. Cooper Clark says, having a knife with a high edge retention super steel is like having a remote start vehicle with heated seats and heated steering wheel up north. Once you have it, you won't go back. That's a great way of putting it. That's my wife's car. My car, there's a little bit of suffering in going anywhere. And the way I see it is like back in the days that I sort of idealize, there was no heated steering wheel. There was no heated seat. Well, I have heated seats, but nothing. I can't if I want to start it up and warm it up, I go out, start it, and hope it doesn't get stolen. Not that I live in that kind of a neighborhood, but don't you always feel that way when you leave a running vehicle? And yeah, I got to do it the old-fashioned way. Anyway, an American Father says toughness and edge retention and ability to sharpen in the woods are all that matter to me. I maintain my knives nearly every day so I don't sweat corrosion a bit. I need carbon steel in the field. An American Father, I want you to make a vlog. You seem to have a pretty interesting life. I know you mentioned a couple of weeks back when I was talking about weird things in the woods. You've spent a lot of time, like all your time for the last, I don't number of decades in the woods. And to me, that's fascinating. I take vicarious pleasure through watching other people's outdoor adventures on YouTube, and I would love to hear what your situation is. Todd Carr says, with most super steels, they are developed for industries, not knives for a specific purpose. They are very. I'm sorry. I'm totally botching this. I'm going to start from the top. With most super steels, they were developed for industry, not knives for a specific purpose. There are very few, such as S30V and MagnaCut, that were actually designed as a knife steel. Yep. That's an interesting point. Like I was saying before, we use ball bearing steel, we use scalpel steel, we use, a scalpel's a blade, but it's a blade of a different sort. EDC Pocket Tools. Good to have you here, EDC Pocket Tools. Very cool logo. Hopefully knives will stay ferrous in the future. Titanium blades aren't the best. Yeah. Now, I don't have any titanium blades, but the only way I would accept one is as a purpose-driven self-defense fixed blade. Just something that is there just to pull out and stick into people if they are trying to kill you. Other than that, I'll just stick to steel, even though it kind of looks cool with the carbonized edge and all that. Fred the Lug says, there are so many different types of collectors. There are so many different likes and desires. This is true, Fred. And the funny thing is some people collect very, very specifically, and I've always admired that. Like, I only collect Spyderco paramilitary 2s, and I have them in every steel and that kind of thing. Or to me, I'm like a randomly shot billiards ball bouncing around the table. Like one week I'm desperately into slip joints. The next week I can't get enough, fixed blades, whatever it is. I'm all over the place, but I love them all. Even the cheap $3 bait knife from Walmart. I love that. An American Father says 1095 and D2 are my super steels. Yeah. I mean, in general, we probably don't need much more than that. Generally speaking is what I mean. Brando's Blade says, if you make knives, it's not super steel. No one buys them anymore. Oh, if you make knives and it's not super steel, no one buys them anymore. I think there's some truth to that, though I think there's a little bit of a overstatement in that. I know that people who have a fan base of people who are already buying from them, can kind of 154 cm is a huge one amongst custom makers. Has been for a long time, and it has been as recently as a couple of years ago. I haven't kept up that much recently, but I know that if the maker is sought after enough, but I see where you're going with that, because this is how I prioritize things too. If I'm spending like more than $200 on a knife, and we're talking custom, so way more than $200 on a knife, I want to make sure that I'm getting great materials. But on the other hand, 15N20 and 1095 are just fine when it comes to a knife like this for me, because it's more about the artistry and the work that goes into making it and the end performance than about the materials. Ira Hayes says, super steels for collectors? I thought they were for first responders who may not always gingerly oil and lube their blades and keep them in salty, sweaty pockets too. Yeah. Well, that's what you would think, but yeah, it's only collectors care about that. All of those first responders you were talking about have 10-year-old Benchmades in their pockets. Not all of them, but many of them. And wow, 154 cm on an old Griptilian. Imagine that. Still works great. John Sisney, nice to have you here, John. Super Steel is 90% marketing and 10% knife adoration. Hashtag knife. Good point. And why is he saying hashtag knife? Because we're giving this knife away in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. This is the Trivisa, what the hell is it called? Mensae. I keep forgetting what it's called. Mensae, a beautiful knife. I love the grind lines on this. It's got that sort of Demon Barber of Fleet Street look. It looks kind of like a straight razor. And it has this beautiful G10 handle. There's the Trivisa logo. Trivisa knives, or Trivisa, however you pronounce it, are really good. I've been exposed to a number of them at this point, and I really like them. This one with that cool cleaver-like blade. 154 cm on this also, so a nice knife. We're giving that away in 10 minutes. Well, 9 minutes now. Just hashtag knife in the comments, and your name will be thrown in the hopper, and we will scramble it up and randomly pull a name out, and that person will get that knife shipped to them at no cost. Todcar says, with their price of diamond stones and plates these days being so inexpensive, there is no reason not to have them. That's a good point. And any steel is easy to sharpen with them as well. Yeah, the diamond stones. Yeah. Scott says, hashtag Dave OG, your generosity your generosity is only exceeded by my good looks and humility. Dion Page says, wow, that's a killer hashtag knife for tonight's giveaway. Well, Dion, it could be yours, sir. I'm glad you put hashtag knife there, and we'll see if it's yours. It wouldn't be the first time, right? Brando's Blade says, thanks, knife, nice looking. I'm sorry. Thanks. I think he meant thanks, hashtag knife, nice looking chopper. Yeah, it's a honey, and it could be yours. Kyle Coonley, how you doing, sir? Hiya, Bob. Oh, how you doing, man? Hope you're doing well. Kyle and his Klingenwerk sharpening is amazing. Before I get into his comment, I like to mention that he took my Perfrico, the beautiful single-edged Civivi dagger, and double-edged it and saved the knife for me. And it is so sweet. It's actually by my bedside these days. Anyway, too much type in one chat about this subject. Oh, too much to type in one chat on the subject. But if you want to look at this objectively, then yes, the science matters. Pardon me. With the addition of today's steels, many old ones are obsolete. Oh, which ones would you say are obsolete? I'm just curious. Dion Page, Peterbilt Knife Guy has sold me on D2. It's the king of super steels. I love his channel. I love Peterbilt Knife Guy's channel. As a matter of fact, he did a great test on the Perfrico, and it performed crazy good for a thin, inexpensive little Civivi near dagger. It performed really well. And I love seeing that because he does the kind of stuff to his knives that I would never dream of doing, but it's always cool to see how the knives perform when he pounds them through a nail or a piece of conduit or whatever. Angry Tom says, I don't know a whole lot about super steels, but 154 cm for my slip joints, S90V or M390 on my folders is just perfect for me. Funny you should say that, because I think that S90V and M390, like these super steels, are best suited for slip joints because they're the knives you're most likely to use, or for me, they're the knives I'm most likely to use when I have them on me, and I quite frequently, almost always, have them on me because they're more acceptable in front of most people, and that's a big chef's knife, yeah, and since you're using them daily, you have to sharpen them the least. I don't know. I just feel like the really hard super steels are best suited to little buttons, to little knives like that, slip joints. Red Astrachan says, I think he said, hit that like button. Thank you, Red. I really appreciate that. Yes, and I always forget to say that. Hit the like button. So I appreciate your saying so. Scott says, I saw Dirk's chef's knife the other week. Beautiful. This is that knife. He posted it on Instagram. This is the knife. It is beautiful, and I'm really psyched about it. And I'm going to commission one for our household, and maybe one for my sister and for my mom, because they're both awesome cooks. My dad and my brother have to sit this one out.
Terminator Joe says that Dirk knife is multi-purpose for cutting food and zombies. Yeah, no doubt. With the jimping, on it, it's like it's like I don't need jimping on my chef's knife, but I like it. And then this curve here. Let me show you this. This gentle, gradual curve here. Usually, we see a knife come straight up or have a deeper curve, chop up more than a potato. Yeah, no doubt. But this curve right here, I'm gonna turn, is really good for this grip. You know, most of us, when we're cutting, we grip the knife like this, kind of half on the blade, and this curve right here is so nice for that, for control, and just for, I don't know, the ergonomics of that are really well observed and nicely done. Matthew, nice to have you here, Matthew. Good evening, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Good evening to you, man. Hope you're doing well. Ouchie EDC, also, I hope you're doing well. Hope your knee has recovered. He says, howdy. EDC Pocket Tool says, I'm 30, so the new 30 is 10. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's back to 5th grade for you, buddy. 30. 30 is the new 10. I love it. Put that thing back in there. Marcus, nice to have you here. Marcus G503. Hit that like button. Have some respect. Have some respect, ya mamalukes. Jeremy Giroux says, LOL, that's awesome about the potato. Check out Red Root blades and his chef's knives. They look amazing. All right, Red Root. I gotta write this down. Also, look at goat head knives. They are fantastic. Okay, goat head. All right, thank you, man. Commander Raider Bell, nice to have you here, Commander. Good evening. What type of container I need to store my knives collection? Oh. Well, here's the thing. It's kind of like, okay, let me put it this way. Well, you don't want to get something too small. You don't want to get something that fits your knife collection. You want something larger than your knife collection will fit into. But you want to be careful that you don't go too large, or else your knife collection might grow out of control. And I have far surpassed my storage capabilities, and I have what I like are the big Craftsman tool chests with the drawers that you see in garages and that kind of thing. I have a couple of them, and at first they were all nicely laying out next to one another so you could see each one. Now in some of the drawers, they're just kind of on top of each other, and I prefer not to do that. But yeah, there's some yeah. So I would get a small. This is what you should get just to start. Just get a small 4-drawer Craftsman or the like tool chest with a top that opens, and put all your best knives on that top thing, and then the drawers below, and that's a good start. And then if it goes beyond that, you just get another one that you put underneath it. Terminator Joe says these anti-fascist types are the same guys who would ban knives in the meaningless crusade. Banning knives is ridiculous. The UK does it, and the criminals still get them. Yeah, I would say that's the same for guns too, or anything else. Craig Vincent says, Bob, well, not everything. I don't need to qualify by saying I don't think everyone should have a grenade launcher. I just don't. Craig Vincent says, Bob, I'll probably never actually need to suddenly baton through the Earth's crust, but it's very comforting to know that with the 3V clad Trailmaster, it shouldn't be a problem. Oh, God. The Trailmaster is just the best. I love the Trailmaster. It's one of my oldest knives that I still have, and it's done the most out of anything I own, and it is just an awesome knife. I highly recommend the Trailmaster. Couldn't recommend it enough. Robert Strebin says, hey, Bob, do you carry a keychain knife? And if you do, what is it? Okay, I've carried a number of them over the years. For a while, I carried a Kershaw Launch 9 automatic, that cool little futuristic switchblade that has about an inch and maybe a 2-inch blade. It's a small blade, beautiful knife, and light enough in its aluminum body that it wasn't. It was great. Jason, good to have you here, man. Wasn't too heavy. But another one I've used is the
the Urban Pal, the little push dagger from the smallest of the push daggers from Cold Steel, and I just did a little mod where I put a small zip tie through one of the grommets on the sheath that could just come up over the top of the handle, just so by accident it wouldn't come off in my pocket or something like that and cut me. So I love keychain knives. Right now, I don't have one on my keychain at all. I just have a little titanium toothpick and a flashlight. Mike Hauser, good evening, all. Mike, good to have you here with us. Super camp over and river closed. Good to be back. Oh, wow. Oh, summer camp, not super camp. River closed. Ooh, that's an eerie day, that last day. It's like the opening of The Shining, where everyone's getting ready to leave and they're trying to beat feet out of there so that they don't get caught in a storm or anything, and they're just looking to get back, and what's left behind is lonely and sort of haunted. In this case, not sort of haunted. And I wonder if your summer camp has that eerie feeling, like now all the creepy creatures in the woods are like, now we can descend back on the camp undetected. Or not. Chris229, nice to have you here, Chris. He says, evening, everyone. Good evening to you, man. Hope you're doing well. Jeremy says, more custom guys need to use 14C to make it amazing. I feel like it has a bad rap and needs a rebrand with a cool name to catch on to custom makers. Oh, that's interesting for the custom makers, because I feel like it is extremely popular and very well liked amongst your average collector. All right. This is it. I think it's time for a pocket check.
What's in his pocket? Let's find out. Here's the Knife Junkie with his pocket check of knives.
In my front right pocket today and yesterday was the Spyderco Yo Jumbo. I love this thing. I don't even know what inspired me to pull this one out. You know how it is. Something catches your eye. And so this has been on me day and night for the last 2 days. I really love this knife. It really did need the middle finger partition thing sanded down, but worry not if you don't like the fact that this knife has a mid handle 2-finger partition thing that sticks up. It can easily be sanded down, and the liner does not extend up into that protrusion, kind of like in the back here. It just goes straight. So you could actually, I've seen people sand this off as well. But I like that there just to sort of bookend my hand in there. This thing is great, though it's in S30V, and it's kind of an outdated steel. So no, I'm just kidding. I love this knife. Deep hollow grind on this, slicey as the day is long, super sharp, and very pointy, nasty knife. But I love it. Next, in my front right, it went right to left today, was this. This is the first knife my grandfather gave me. And this is the one that I used all through childhood to make projects. Like at one point, I had snuck in while my brother was watching Taxi Driver, and I saw that thing he had on his arm, that he made out of the cast and the drawer pull thing, and that slides the 25 caliber into his hand. And I tried to make something like that. And this is the knife I used mostly. And it was because of this amazing tool right here. And now I can't get it out there. An awl. This thing has an amazing awl on it. This is a Camillus camp knife, and I love this thing. This is one of my prized possessions. I loved my grandfather, still love him, but he's not with us anymore. Awesome guy. He could build anything. And yep, he gave me that. So I had that on me today. Used the bottle opener cap lifter today a couple of times to open up peanuts, those tins. So yeah, hardcore user here. Next up on my belt, I had the new version of the TKL Knives Night Stalker with the battle lock grips. This one designed by, or not designed, but what am I trying to say?
machined. There it is. There's the word. Machined by Nick Chuprin and NCC Knives up in New Hampshire. They do a lot of the milling work for TKL, and he's a perfectionist and makes just incredible stuff. His own knives are incredible, but the work he does for other makers is also incredible. 80 CRV2. This has got a slightly thinner blade stock than my other Night Stalker, my older Night Stalker, and I'm just a huge fan of the Battle Lock grips. I had this on me, and of course, with the Ulti Clip wire clip, I love that thing. I like it better than the regular Ulti clips with the clamp that you clamp down. Last up, for emotional support today, I had this. This was my ESK. This is the Sow Catcher from Odin Wolf. Oh, look at that. D2 blade steel. Such a cool knife. And this thing I bought for a song on Amazon a few years ago. They can still be had. I see them a lot with the orange handles. Glad I got the green. They're like $60, and it is a big recurve dagger. And the name Sow Catcher implies that you use this to dispatch boar when you're hunting. But I dare say, old boy, that it's a little thin. I mean, it's perfect as just a knife, and it's perfect as a like fighting knife kind of thing. But for a hog, I always imagine that you want a sort of distal ridge or a center line thickness that's a little greater than this. But I don't know. I've never dispatched a hog with a knife, or with anything for that matter. Though I've eaten lots of bacon and ham. But this thing is awesome. I love it. The Sow Catcher also comes in a nice plastic sheath. The one thing I don't like about the plastic sheath is that this belt strap is permanently grommeted on. Kind of wish it were screwed on there so I could do different stuff with it, but whatever. It's not like I carry it that much anyway. So this is what I had on me today. I had the Odin Wolf Sow Catcher as my ESK. I had the new Night Stalker. By the way, this is so light. This is so light and fast as my fixed blade. In my pockets rattling around and getting some use was my Grandpa T's Camillus that he gave me. Camp knife. So cool. And then I had the Yo Jumbo. What did you guys have? Let me know. And I think we got to get to this giveaway post haste. What do you think, Jim? How many people do we have signed up for this? I think if you're not signed up, if you haven't hashtag knifed, you should do it, because we're giving away this Trivisa Mensae or Mensa. Maybe it's like Mensa, like the brilliant people, the smart people. I don't know. I don't know how you smell this. I don't know how you spell the smart people Mensa. So maybe that's it. All right. Mensa. It's like a society of geniuses, right? Something like that. That's what we'll say. That's what this knife represents. We are a society of geniuses. So let's do this, people. Let's do this, Knife Junkies. All right. We got 79 entries. The names have been shuffled. Let us do this in 3, 2, and 1. Chief Sawyer pauses for a sip and waits. Level on up. This is yours, Level on up. Congratulations, sir, presumably. Level on up. I've seen you here before. I recognize your name and your avatar, so I'm thrilled and pleased as punch to be sending this to you. Please email me your address, your shipping address to TheKnifeJunkie@gmail.com. TheKnifeJunkie@gmail.com, and I will send this out to you hopefully tomorrow. It could happen that soon. Nick, how you doing? We have Niche Designs here. I just did a close-up video. Oh, I don't have it on the table now. I just did a close-up video on the scuffle today. So keep your eyes peeled. That's coming out on Saturday, I think. Spoiler alert. I love it. Anyway, this is Nick Rogers of Niche Designs. He says, if you sharpen your own knives, you know how much work it is. So you want good steels because you know you want to avoid sharpening as long as possible. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and strop it, right? And there are like maintenance things you can do along the way, so that you don't have to sharpen them. But Nick, superlative design. I love it. I love it. So anyway, thought I'd tell you in person. Hero Stick says, I think you are right. I'm sorry. I think you are right on the Wesco folder. I think it's their first and not new after all. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm sorry. I'm having a senior moment. I don't remember the Westco folder. Please elaborate. James Hart says, I have an F and Grow knife made of Schleipner steel. I got it also very sharp. I do not have an F and Grow. I know, James, I think you bought an F and Grow after we gave it away. You liked the one we had here. Something has stopped me from getting an F and Grow, but I think I need to try out a fixed blade. Todd Carr says S35VN was for additional toughness at the expense of edge retention. S45VN kept the toughness of the S35 and the edge retention of the S30V while being a touch more stainless as well. S45 is very balanced. I can say with total confidence, I have no S45 in my collection. Why is it not a more popular steel? Does anyone know? Is that because people moved on from S35 by the time S45 came out? EDC Pocket Tools says, I believe S30V is a sintered steel. IIRC. I don't know what that means. Explain that, EDC, because EDC Pocket Tools, please, because I don't know that much about steel, so I don't know what a sintered steel is. Matt Maurer says, Bob and everyone, good to have you here, Matt. Jason Velasquez, good to have you here, Jason. Good afternoon, junkies, he says. Good afternoon to you. So that also leaves me wondering where you are, perhaps Hawaii. Fred the Lug says, makers need to know how to use the steel they have chosen. I have an XHP steel knife, and it cracked right on small piece between the pivot hole and the internal stop-in track. Dang. What was that word? But dang, how did that happen? I wonder. That is something. Yeah, I mean, we know there are certain companies like Spyderco and Cold Steel that do outstanding jobs with their heat treat. I'm sure many others do also, but we know that about Cold Steel and about Spyderco. Cold Steel has done so much with kind of marginal steels for so long, and it's all due to that heat treat. Scott says, talking of Resco watches of espionage is more of a shopping channel than information. I love Watches of Espionage. That's one of my favorite channels. Fred the Lug says, Whatnot does not require any licenses. Oh, good. Okay. I think Karen was talking about the ones who do have licenses, and I guess that is a way. If you're a licensed auctioneer, that's a way to engender confidence in visitors to that website. But I'm glad to know I can go on there and sell without one, though. Michael Upchurch, nice to have you here, Michael. Hello, he says. Hello to you, man. Hope you're doing well. Sean Clark says, I have a couple of TRC knives, one in LMAX, other in Magna Cut. Love them both, but also love my Randall tool steel. Yeah, yep. Me too. Pinkerton Knives, good evening, all. Dirk, good to have you here, sir. I was just showing off the beautiful chef's knife you made, and I used it tonight to cut potatoes. That's all I used, that's all I cut with it. But man alive, I love it, and I will be commissioning one from you. I absolutely love this knife, nice and thin. Tell me what the blade thickness is, if you don't mind. I'd be, what is it, like an eighth of an inch? Kyle Cooley says Magna Cut and D2 are not similar at all, unless you are saying they are both steel. Dirk, I don't have that other thing you sent me because I need a new screw. The screw that I have does not fit. It doesn't go all the way through and into the blade. But very shortly, I'm going to show you something super cool that Dirk sent me along with the knife. And then he also sent me back my Matador. I love this thing. Malcolm Holt says, I have bought 5 knives from Dawson over 4 or 5 years. Well made. Oh yeah, I definitely need to check them out. And they look cool too, which of course is paramount. Hero Stick says, drooling over those Resco watches now. Thank the good Lord Seiko and Casio still scratch the itch. Yeah, no kidding. I love my Seikos. I'm wearing one right now, and a number 5 field watch, a number 5 automatic field watch made in Japan. You got to make sure. I mean, I think when you buy a Seiko, you want the ones made in Japan. Though I do have one made in China, and it's great too. So, or made somewhere other than Japan. I'm assuming it's China. Bobby Rains, nice to have you here, Bobby. Speaking of commissions, evening everyone. The main thing I've experienced with the advent of Supersteel is that all of my favorite knives are 3 times as expensive now. But are they 3 times as effective? Could be. An American Father says, for what I do, SK5 has never failed me. I have never cursed at SK5. That's another one that Cold Steel has used a lot of. I don't know. I don't think they have recently, but SK5 was a big one. Now it's 3V for their high end and 4116 or something like that. Some Kruppstahl. Let's see. Todd Carr says, only way to make 1095 tough is to lower the HRC to around 55, 56. Pardon me. And at that hardness, edge retention is absolutely dismal. It's interesting. I did not know that. Scott says, hashtag Bob, talking of Resco, watches of espionage. Oh, it is a shopping channel, right? As with Steels, a G-Shock is up to the job, but a tie watch case is the Supersteel of knives. Yeah, no kidding. I just recently got I can never remember reference numbers of watches, but I got a G-Shock. They sometimes call it the Casio because it's an analog digital. So it's got the hands and everything. But it's got an octagonal bezel similar to the Royal Oak, the $100,000 watch from Audemars Piguet. Kyle Kunley says 1095 isn't a tough steel at all. Most makers run it at in a super blade stock and or soft and convex. Oh man, my illusions are being shattered. I shouldn't put it that way because the 1095 knives that I use, to be honest, well, I'm honest all the time. I don't use them that hard, so I would not be the ultimate arbiter. But I always thought the 1095 was tough. But there are other things like 3V that have it beat for sure. Zachary Schmidt says, I think no matter how many fancy steels we get, I think we will always have a shared passion in knife community for 14C28N. It's a steel that all the knife junkies can appreciate. I think you're right. I like it. Here's what do you guys think of this? Seth Lang, good to have you, man. Good evening, folks, he says. Good evening to you. Artisan sent me this, and I love it. It's a Laconico design, Ray Laconico. Matt says, the Pinkerton chef's knife looks fantastic. Bravo to you for ending that poor tuber's miserable journey. Yes, through the hands of some, I was like, really? You got to give my 10-year-old daughter a fight fascism sticker? I'll tell you where you can stick that sticker. Not that I'm a fascist or anything, but come on, give me a break. It's Halloween. Give them a piece of candy and let them be on their way without the lecture. Anyway, so this is the Artisan Cutlery Revel, a knife design that I love. Really love the handle is very comfortable too, but the blade shape is just gorgeous. I think. I love Ray Laconico's designs. I only have 2 now in my collection. I have the big bison from Concept and this one now. They sent me this because they wanted me to show it off, which I happily did. I just made a close-up video of it that'll be going up next Monday, I believe. But they wanted to show off the new color, this mint green that it comes in. But what reminded me to pull this out and show it to you, besides the fact that it's really cool, I wanted to show it off. This also has a very thin blade stock and a tall grind and is very, very sharp and slicey. But this has Artisan's proprietary AR RPM 9 steel. What do you guys think of that steel? I've seen Peterbilt Knife Guy do some tests with it. And for the kind of tests he does, it did not do great, let's say. But then again, I mean, you probably aren't going to be pounding your folder through conduit or a nail, a steel nail. But what do you guys think of this this blade steel? If you have any opinion. Now, I have just a a tourist's opinion of AR RPM 9. I have a few knives with it, and for my pedestrian purposes, they have it has worked out great. But I'm curious what some of you actual steel connoisseurs think of AR RPM 9. I know it's a powder metallurgy steel, and I know it's not super high end, but other than that, and I only glean that from the price of the knives that they put it on. So what do you guys think? Anyone have an opinion? But besides that, this I really like. This is a $45 knife, super inexpensive as far as folding knives go. It's nice and light and thin, though and I'm glad about this, but there is no weight relief on those liners. And I think if there were, this does not need to be any lighter. Let me put it that way. It might take on that sort of Benchmade bug out feel, which feels cheap, feels like you can kind of crush it in your hands. That's why I got the micarta scales for mine. But this one, I'm really digging this knife. So what do you guys think? Let me know. AR RPM 9. Any opinions out there? Any experience using it in a way that is hard, or any robust uses of it? Let me know. Craig Vincent says, Bob, it's pronounced Carbon V. Okay, Carbon V. Did I say 5? Carbon 5? I don't know. I'm Roman. I'm Italian. What can I say? I see a V and I think it's a 5. Jacob Green says, my carry today was a Cold Steel 4MAX Scout. Excellent choice. Was it more than I needed for a day off around the house? Yes. Was it fun to carry anyway? Also, yes. Hey, Jacob, you never know what might come up on a day off around the house. You don't want to have to go back to the man cave to get a knife adequate for the job. I think you chose correctly. Michael Upchurch says, heard CPM D2 is good. Okay, CPM D2, that's what my first D2 knife had. The ProTech Rockeye Automatic was CPM. I forgot to mention that before. Jacob Green says, also, adamantium is an alloy of steel and vibranium. Oh, I love it. I love it. The steel nerds are coming out. That's awesome. Vibranium. Jeff Schaefer says, by the way, I love that scene in the movie, in the Wolverine movie, where he's in that pool of jelly and they're injecting him with adamantium and coating his bones. That's a cool scene. And then he freaks out and jumps out and kills everyone. Jeff Schaefer says, hi, Bob. Well, Jeff, good to have you here with us. And your tulips, those tulips are beautiful. One of my favorite flowers. Hi, Bob. The thing about Supersteel is that they can be super thin and still be strong enough to support the edge. That's a good point. That's a good point. I wonder if this AR RPM 9 on a super thin blade is a good thing. Guess I'll find out. Craig Vincent says, I read today that Cold Steel has discontinued the Bush Ranger. Another great one bites the dust. I haven't gotten the Bush Ranger. And And I know that they have the Bush Ranger Light, the inexpensive one. I think it's the Light. It's always been appealing to me, though. I just wish they would bring back the old fixed blade Bush Ranger. I think it was called. What was that called? It looked like a Sheffield Bowie with the swedge. With the swedge that starts on the spine of the blade, and then comes through the clip, and it had an all grivery handle. That thing was awesome. Brian Kanata has one of those. Southern Collie has one of those. So cool. It's a beautiful knife. Wish I got one. Zachary Schmidt says, Bob, I also have the Sidekick as well. That's a good knife. Have you heard of the Off-Grid Knives Trail Guard? It's a more budget version of the Backcountry V2. Yes, I did just hear of that. I do not have that one, but yeah, I just saw that came out. I hear good things about Hattori Hanzo steel, says Jeremy S. Hattori Hanzo, of course, the legendary sword maker from Kill Bill. And I don't know if from anywhere else. Michael Upchurch says, yes, Hanzo blades will cut God, apparently. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it is Kill Bill. Marcus G503. Marcus says, I believe 14C28N was developed for razor blades. Okay, razor blades. I was thinking scalpels. Yeah. How cool is that? I mean, that's a good pedigree, right? If you're making pocket knives, a razor steel. Jacob Vargas says, looking forward to getting my awesome custom Bowie from Edgy American Blades. That'll be awesome. That's the Homestead. Cool knife. Double wide EDC, Mad Yoko. Good to have you here, double wide. I don't know about Supersteel trends, but I'm making out of Pops. Pops Pro Cut, and I'm carrying D2 and ATS 34 right now, and I feel very much complete. ATS 34. That is a name I have not heard in a long time. ATS 34 was a big deal in the 90s. It was like what Benchmades were made of, and that was like the pre 154 CM. 154 CM kind of eclipsed ATS 34, if I remember correctly. That's cool. Little deep cut there. We don't hear that steel about that steel too much anymore. Donald Fry, good to have you here, Donald. Howdy, everyone. Late to the party. Just got back from ER due to issues from knee replacement. Good Lord. I hope you're doing better, man. All is well. Wife got sent back by security for having 2 knives on her. She's a keeper, Donald. If you didn't know this already, that's why she's a keeper. See? That's awesome, man. Traveling with my wife, was it the last time we went to the airport together? He's the one who got busted with a knife, and I was like, finally, I am vindicated. Lone Star Dowboy says, my K-Bar 8-inch Fighting Tonto in 1095 Crovan is the same as Carbon V or discontinued Sharon steel. Discontinued Sharon steel. I've never heard of Sharon steel. Sorry. Victor Blades. How you doing, Victor? Hey, fellas, to each his own with blade steel. Me personally, I won't spend more than $100 on anything less than S30. And if a particular knife comes in different steels, I always go for the premium. This is basically what I was getting at before, Victor, is that though I personally have never run up against the outer limits of even your 8CR13 MOVs, if I'm spending a certain amount of money, I want a better steel. It's just how it is. If I'm spending $200,000 on a car, which I do, weekly, I want to make sure that it's a really, really awesome car. Like that's a kind of a stupid example, but you know what I mean. The materials do matter. There is a material to money nexus, is what I'm saying. Dwayne Letterman, nice to have you here, Dwayne. He says, evening all, and to you, sir, a good evening. By the way, says Victor, I have many knives with 14C and 154 CM. Love the stuff. It really depends on the intended use that dictates which knife I will use. Yeah, and I would imagine which knife you'll carry and where you're going in your jurisdiction or your jurisdiction, but where you live. And by the way, sorry about recent news. Anyway, Knife Guy Stuff says 1095 is maxed out at 10 foot-pounds toughness at 57 HRC. So let me read that again. 1095 is maxed out at 10 foot-pounds toughness at 57 HRC. AEBL has a similar toughness at 64 HRC that can get almost 40 foot-pounds. Holy mackerel, at 60 HRC. Wow. Good info from Knife Guy Stuff. David Nephilim Slayer, nice to have you here, David. Moki, it has mastered the heat treat on OS 8, ATS 34, and currently VG10. Who's Moki? Moki has mastered the heat treat. Interesting. Let me know who Moki is. I'm curious. Jeremy S says, other than being expensive, there is no reason not to get the best possible steel. But buy once, cry once, especially. Yes. Yes, I agree. I love the buy once, cry once philosophy. My grandmother used to say, and I hate it when people say, my grandma, my daddy used to say, because they're almost always lying. But in this case, I'm not. My grandmother would say, buy the best you can afford. And that's basically cry once, buy once, cry once. And she was a young lady during the Depression, and that always left an impression on her. An American father says, I had to kill a boss coon in a chicken coop with a cold steel combat katana machete. Holy crap. At 3 a.m. a few nights back, not vlog material. I was in my boxers. This is what I'm talking about. This is content, baby. That's amazing. That's an amazing story. Let me tell you a quick story. Very close friend of mine at work, I gave him a knife, and he had a black snake in his basement, and he and his wife are both snake phobic. So he called a neighbor over, help me kill this snake. Neighbor came over and like trapped the snake with I would have just let the thing go. It's not a poisonous snake, and I'm not freaked out by snakes. Though if I saw one in my basement here, I guess I would freak out. But anyway, one held it down and the other cut its head off with the knife I gave him. I'm like, see, I knew it would come in handy. And when I first gave it to him, he's like, what do I need a knife for? I'm like, what don't you need a knife for? And now it turns out he needs it for slaying serpents in his own home. EDC Pocket Tools says, I have a fixed blade with DC 53 steel. It stays pretty darn sharp. DC 53. Is that what this is? Is that what they're using on APOC survival stuff? No, there's some weird steel, or no, I shouldn't say weird, but steel I'm unfamiliar with used in these. This is the Wallace Bowie from APOC survival. Angry Tom's Hat Next Door says, Bob, you are a knife junkie. Yeah, pretty much. The progress, says Marcus, in steel development will continue. Man cannot sit still in his search for knowledge. This is true. This is true. It's like if things were perfect, we would. You know someone like this. Things are fine in their life. They can't handle it, so they create drama. A lot of people just create drama to have something to push back against. I mean, I feel like our whole country does this. Or not our whole country, but certain sectors of the population do this. There's just not enough adversity in their lives, so they make shit up, and then everyone else has to suffer for it. OG Blade Review says, I must say that my experience with OS 10A on the cold steel carve has been amazing, and its ability to hold an edge and maintain an edge through weekly stropping after an initial sharpening on my wicked edge. Ooh, sweet. Yeah, I've been very impressed with the OS 10. I have a bunch of OS 10 at this point from Cold Steel, and it's good stuff. Like this knife, I've been since I got this. I got this about a month ago. I've shown it off a bunch. I've just been. This has not once been in my cabinet yet. I just use it all the time for all sorts of stuff, and it's still razor sharp. Dion Page says Nova 2. Yeah, nicely done, sir. This is his pocket check. Nova 2, pardon me, Swiss Army knife, Beast CJRB bolt. O-Knife Lil Ultra Kershaw Special Agent. That is a single-edged dagger, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you can send it to Mr. Kunli and he'll fix it up for you. I picked up a 1977 case Kodiak Hunter this week in mint condition with a mint box. I'm still stoked. Oh, that sounds cool. I can't think of what a Kodiak Hunter is. Is it a two-bladed hunter, like a large folder with two 4-inch blades? One of them a clip point and one of them just like a skinning blade, looks like. David Nephilim Slayer, Thor's hammer is made of uru, as is his axe Stormbreaker. How cool. Uru. Wouldn't it be cool to have a tool that you could just hold your hand up? Red Astrachan says, if 154 CM fails me, Emerson, I'll upgrade. Yeah, it won't. It won't. But you still might want to anyway. Michael Upchurch says, kind of weird when some people collect 1 or 2 knives and like hundreds of each. So you have 500 plus buck 110s. Kind of sad when one good budget modern knife would be better. Yeah. I mean, but there's no collectors are weird people. They really, I mean, maybe they're not weird. Maybe that's not generous to say, but I'm one. And I always thought they were weird. And then I admitted to myself that I was one. I was like, no. Collectors, they collect crystal figurines, and collectors, they collect the spoons from different states and stuff like that. They don't collect knives. And then I realized, oh, just get over it. You're a collector. And yeah, there's weird compulsions that come along with it. So, I mean, even though I'm not a collector of 100 buck 110s or 500 plus, I could see how someone could be. Because this one has this material, this one has this material. Jacob Vargas says the first knife ever had in Magna Cut was leaving me on tenterhooks, man. Let's see. Jeremy S says LMAX is one of those blade steels that can be amazing if properly heat treated, but many don't seem to be able to heat treat it right. Jeremy, do you remember back in the day, zero tolerance, when zero tolerance first kind of started, they were using a lot of LMAX, and that was kind of part of their unique selling proposition, except for the fact that they really effed up the heat treats, and the edges wouldn't hold or take, and they were hard to sharpen, and they were brittle. And do you remember that? Yeah, LMAX is a steel that can be difficult to master, it seems, to heat treat. Kyle says 154 CM wasn't used by custom makers because it was the best, but because it's acceptable and super easy to work with. It polishes easily, grinds quickly, and is cheap. Yeah. Yes, someone told me that. Maybe it was Matt. But Kyle, do you like 154? I'm curious. Thomas Wheeler says, I find myself passing up on D2 knives for at least 154 CM. I mean, I'm just saying stuff now. 14C 28N. So you will pass up D2 for 14C. My pendulum has swung back to D2. Seth Lang says, was talking with a serious collector. Sought out ABS bladesmiths exclusively. He was very bullish on ATS 34. Not one I see very often. Is this the best kept secret regarding Supersteels? It's old. I mean, or I should say, it's been around a long time. You don't hear about it too much because I think other things have eclipsed it. And I'm not sure I've ever really seen it on a big fixed blade, but maybe I haven't searched. This would be an interesting experiment, or a little bit of research, is go on to Arizona Custom Knives, the best website in the world, and put in and just search for ATS 34 knives and see what the ratio is of fixed blades to folders. I'm betting most of them are folders. Craig Vincent says, I have knives in 8CR14 MOV and 4116 that I haven't had to sharpen in 3 years. And yes, I use them. Yeah, Craig, the 4116 for sure is pretty darn good steel because I have it on some cheap cold steels. And obviously, I'm more apt to use the cheap cold steels than my more expensive knives. And I've, kind of don't mind putting them through harder stuff. And I've always had good experience with it. Jacob Vargas says, the first knife I have in Magna Cut is my Dawson Woodsman and Pro Cut Outcast. That one I'm unfamiliar with. The heat treat is amazing. Is Pro Cut Outcast, is that a different knife from a different company, or is the Pro Cut Outcast a Dawson's knife? OG Blade Reviews, today's carry, ESK, Work Tough Gear, Atayal. Oh, so cool. I saw your Work Tough Gear family lineup. Beautiful. That Atayal. At first, or Atayal, I'm not sure how that's pronounced. But at first I was kind of like, I don't like it. But I've seen so many people with theirs, and I'm like, kind of like it now. TCal Agent 007, Dauntless Musashi in 3V, Hogue Deca V2 20CV with Lex custom tie scales, Microtech Cypher, sorry guys, and Pinkerton folding ferrule. That's funny. I got my folding ferrule out right now as we speak. Love this thing. Bob Tism, how's it going? Hoo-ah, ooh-ah. Good to have you here, man. Bob Tism, great name. I'm with it. Split and Slices says, love the curved heel of the chef's knife. Pinkerton knives. Been bit by the heel more often than the blade. Chef or Santoku. Oh, interesting. The heel. Okay. That's the curved part I was talking about. Damn it, Bob. Stop attacking me for my grenade launcher collection. Kyle, I'll let it slide because I know you personally. Well, I don't know you personally, but I know you're a good dude. So sorry for calling you out. Mike Hauser says, banning knives, buy tissue paper and super glue. Yeah, exactly. David Nephilim Slayer says, speaking of classic super steels, which no one was, I want a classic Spyderco police model that used ATS 34. Oh, that'd be awesome. I got my, I told you, or I showed you guys my classic Spyderco police. It's in VG10, but I think those old ATS 34 ones have tip down only, which might be a problem, but on a knife like that, who cares? Lone Star Dowboy says, carry of the day, cold steel Espada Large and Sencut Tynan. I'm unfamiliar with the Tynan, but I love the Espada Large. You know what I have right now in my pocket? Because I take my pocket check knives out of my pocket. Right now I have my Talwar XL. Such a great knife. Speaking of large cold steels, James Hart says, nothing in my pocket today, but I was wearing my new K-Bar Dog's Head knife today. Yes, on my right hip. I've sharpened it, and it is scary sharp now. Mine came pretty sharp, but yeah, I think it might stand to use a little sharpening. Here's my dog head. I love this thing. Dog's Head K-Bar. Probably my favorite K-Bar to date. Though I got to say, I like the D2. I don't know what they call it, but it's got the blasted silver blade, and it's got the same pommel and a similar single quillion guard, though it's thicker and a little more contoured. What is that called? I think it's out of D2 steel. Mike Hauser, summer camp is code for lots of adult and family time on the water. I got you. Hit the nail on the head with the last day experiences. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, that bittersweet and somewhat eerie feeling of the end of summer. Todd Carr says, see AEBL and Nitro V more with custom makers versus 14 C28, and think it's more of an availability thing in North America versus the other two. Most will never know the difference between the three of them, though. Yeah, I've seen a lot of AEBL by smaller makers. KR Knife Reviews. Good to have you here, KR. Kaiser Militaw. That's a cool one. That's designed by Jonathan Stiles. I have a very early knife from him when he went by Newfoundland Knife Company. Timothy Chadwick says, today's carry, Microtech. Timothy, if I haven't greeted you, it's good to have you here. I think I did, though. It doesn't matter. Microtech Iconic Karambit. Oh, sweet. That's the collaboration with Bastinelli knives, I believe. Mod Light Multi-Mode Handheld Light RMJ Tactical Yard Bull Sap. Sweet. I have a sap right here, given to me by my good friend Dave. Love this thing. Thanks, OG. Love it. Hero Stick says, carried my Gareth Bull Mura, which is a fighting bull. I happen to know that because I used to love Lamborghinis. Custom Pinkerton Smilodon, excellent choice. And a Taylor's Eyewitness Barlow. That's a British company. I know Taylor's Eyewitness from Patty's potato peelers. Split and Slices says, carry is a TKL Combatant 80 CRV2, Off-Grid Enforcer XLRD. Oh, Red Dawn. That's the Red Dawn G10 handle, 154 cm, and a dual blade traditional pocket knives Ohio River Jack. Those were kind of a rare bird in Easy Ant 3-in-1 with pen and Olight. I'm not sure what an Easy Ant in Easy Ant. I really like my Odin Wolf mini knife. I've heard that their other knives are pretty cool, are good, especially for outdoor woodsy kind of stuff. Bob Tism says, I'm pretty sure there is a ballistic solution to hogs that does not involve a large poker. How could we do this? I wish there was some way. Yeah. Level on up. No way. Yes. Yes way, sir. This is yours. Remember, send me your address if you haven't already to TheKnifeJunkie@gmail.com. I'll get this in the mail with a little swag pack. Jeremy Giroux says, Tour Merchant 2.0 and Cliff Carter Knives Backwater Custom Fixed Blade in Pop's Pro Cut. I have no idea what that knife is, but it sounds cool as hell. Also packed around a Cerberus Reut in S90V. I don't know what that is either, but I know Cerberus knives from the, well, I know I used to follow him and I have to refollow him with my new account, but I know him from the Tango. Angry Tom's Hat Next Door says, today I had my Finch Oxbow in N690 steel. I love Finch. They're cool guys. They also have a watch company. One of them does. Homie Omi says, Homie, good to have you here. I'm always telling you how I love my Bark River Highwayman 3. Always wish they made it full tang. And they did. The Highwayman 4. It's so ugly. They messed it up. I'm so sad. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. Dion Page says, I've really gotten into collecting Western Case Rough Rider, Camillus and Kershaw blades lately. Oh, yeah, man. That's a great lineup, especially the Western. Todd Carr says Magna Cut was released around the same time as S45VN and kind of stole the spotlight from it. And rightly so. EDC Pocket Tool says sintered steels form from powder. It's a whole process I'm not that familiar with. Okay, so like a powder metallurgy. Gary Bucco, love you, Bob and Jim. And as always, fantastic show. Thank you for all you do. My pleasure, Gary. And yeah, it's time for me to kick too. I got to wake up, not kick, but go to bed. I got to wake up in 5 hours. Craig Vincent says today was the 3V8010 Mayhem launch edition, the XL Vaquero serrated, the SR1 Tonto, Swift 3 in M4. Keep looking at that one. The Buck Spitfire and the Manix 2 lightweight in 15V. Matt Lamana, today's blade carry, TKL Combatant, Hogue RSK, Jack Wolf Knives, Venom, and on body ESK Station 9 Partisan. Nice. And on body too. Bob, blade thickness is okay, 0.110, says Dirk. Thank you so much, Dirk. I appreciate it. Thank you all. Cooper, this is the last comment. firefighter here, I can attest, thank you for your service. I can attest to is all having to us all having Benchmates, lots of Leathermans too. Well, I can see why that's important. The discount and using uniform allowance for knives is a huge part of why we use Benchmade and Leatherman. How interesting. I did not know that. I did not know that. But yeah, I have noticed that all the police I work adjacent to, Benchmade. Oh yeah, Sunday, great episode with Paolo Rubio. He's an awesome dude, martial artist. I had such a great conversation with him. You might know him for his funker tactical stuff that he's done. Very, very fun interview. So I had a great time with that. Check it out on Sunday at 12-ish Eastern Standard Time. All right, for Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm telling you, check out Patreon right here. The QR code, save 12% for a year, or become a member right here. Have a great weekend, guys. For Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, don't take dull for an answer.